Certification and supply. This has been a really challenging area. Just as the market is heating up and commodity prices are either at historic highs in some cases or getting there, or back on the sort of 2007 trajectory, we're having that supply crunch back again. And so it's a challenging one. You know, we have to really have a lot of communication and trust each other, I think, and not put ourselves into that difficult peak and valley situation again, where the market prices just get so high that the consumer and the retailers back off, and then we have everybody sitting on 2 years of silage again. So what we're also watching is the producer numbers. So in Saskatchewan, you know, I said earlier there was a 4.5% decline from 2009 to 2010, and in Saskatchewan we saw a 16% decline. And we're anticipating that that could grow to a 30% decline by 2011. We don't have that data in yet. And that's pretty worrisome, and I have to say I was a little apprehensive coming here because we've been watching this scenario over the last couple of years and trying to talk to people about it. And I didn't really know what I was going to see here when I got here. And I have to say that I am absolutely revitalized and full of optimism having been at this conference. There are so many people in the room, there's so much business being done, lots of great discussions on practical matters, on organic production, and I really feel that there is a good message here and that we need to continue to get that message out. We have the market, we have the distribution, sometimes there's some gaps. We have some of the supply, and there's lots of room for growth. So let's tell people about that, and not be afraid of what happened a few years ago. Let's just continue to grow our base here because organic is not going away, and there's a tremendous amount of opportunity both in Canada and in the export markets. We've also recently had the Census of Agriculture come out for 2011, and if you took the 10-year window on that, and you look at the 2001 to 2011 data, what that says to us is total farms in Canada have declined by 17%. That's not a shocker. We know that that's the decline, and that's the way it's going. But we see a 66.5% increase in organic production over that 10-year. So we've had a big drop in the last few years. But if you look at the longer view, we've been growing at a very impressive rate. And we're starting to carry that message to Ottawa. We have a fact sheet that I have at my table. You can come and get a copy that shows some of these numbers that we now have to tell them. Listen, you need to support the organic sector. You need to support transition and new entrants. You need to help us develop the value chain here at home to meet that need. And we're a success story for agriculture. And you need to take that into consideration when you're making policies. So that's a big thing. We're also looking at the numbers of what are gross farm receipts. And what we see is, and it's a small sample compared to a very large sample, but what we see typically is that organic farms are clustered in the center of those farm receipt areas. So that's the income side. And it's showing that there is this strength in the middle, this value for family farmers. And if you look at the total farms in Canada, what you see is everybody's down below at the bottom two levels or up over the highest level, and there's nothing in the middle. And so what you have are subsistence farmers who can't make it, they're working off farm, and you've got major, big-time industrialized or corporate agriculture on the other end, and you have nothing in the middle that's supporting the family farmers. I think that's something we can talk about and say that we're agriculture that's growing and supporting the family farm. And I think that's a really good message that we need to bring up a little more. Next slide. But there are a lot of issues. We just found out about a week ago that Stats Canada is proposing to stop using the organic questions on the next census. So just as we're getting this data, just as we're showing that incredible story that we have, we're going to have that cut off. And so there's a lot of us working to write in about our concern. We'll be meeting with officials in Ottawa to say that that's unacceptable, and I think you should work with Organic Connections, work with some of your local organizations to find out how you can help us carry that message that Stats Canada needs to continue to measure our sector because it's an important one. We also have challenges maintaining our standards right now. I'm sure many of you have heard about this, that we don't have funding to review and renew our standards every year or every 5 years as it's supposed to happen. And meanwhile, our trading partners in the United States and in Europe have the ability to do that every 2 years. And so that's a really big concern. So these are some of the issues around certification and supply that I think we need to look at. How can we support new entrants? How can we provide knowledge transfer, mentorship? What about extension? What sort of extension network do we have in Canada for the organic sector? Because we have very specific extension needs and very specific agronomic needs. Next slide, please. How am I doing? Couple minutes. All right. Another one in the marketplace is natural. That's a big concern. So please come by the booth and pick up this card we've done to help consumers identify what organic means and what natural means and what local might mean if it's not organic or if you don't know your local source and know what they're doing agronomically. Next slide, please. I'm going to go through some of this quickly now. We still don't have regulations in most of the provinces in Canada, which can mean that there's certain gaps or double standards or some softness in terms of who's growing what and how are they able to claim that they're organic. So we need to close the gap on that, and the good news is Manitoba is about to start that process, and we're very hopeful to see Manitoba's regulation in the new year, I think, and hopefully that will start the flow of the other provinces coming into line. We already have Quebec and BC, but we need to focus on some of the others. Next slide, please. I'm not going to go through this one. This is really that I've kind of touched on it. The media is really needing some messaging out there. What I want to do now is walk you through some of what we're doing at that level. We often get stories in the press that are critical of organic, that make consumers question whether it's really organic or whether we're just kind of greenwashing. And we need to be able to identify both those risks at a messaging level and the risks at, like fraud, like I mentioned earlier, that undermine the sector. One more, please. So, keep on going. All right, so this is Organic Week. This is something that CODA and the Canadian Organic Growers came together 3 years ago to found and start, and it's been a real success. We had 25 sponsors this year, retailers across the country getting involved, and consumers really noticed this. And I've got some Organic Week information at the booth. I'm going to just show you some pictures. This is Olivia Chow with myself, with Canadian Organic Growers, Beth on the right, and Helen from the Canadian Health Food Association cutting into an organic cake at the Big Toronto Trade Show back in September. Next slide. Organic Week also fell on the 50th anniversary of Silent Spring. So Rachel Carson, next slide, you just advance, there's a few. So this is a poster of DDT, selling DDT, DDT is good for me. I found pictures of babies' room wallpaper laced with DDT to protect your newborn from all of those terrible pests that are in our environment. This is the reality that she found herself in and questioned. Here's some children just being sprayed with DDT and keep them healthy. They were spraying cows. They were spraying cows' feed. There were a lot of strange things starting to happen at that time. And this brave woman absolutely stepped outside of the scientific consensus, out of the government regulatory consensus of her day, and said, "Stop. This is absolute garbage." And to me, this is a quote that I just think we need to have close to heart. Can anyone believe it is possible to lay down such a barrage of poisons on the surface of the earth without making it unfit for all life? The chemical war is never won, and all life is caught in its violent crossfire. So as Organic Week, as part of Organic Week, we put together an expert panel in Toronto and partnered with Environmental Defence, who was instrumental in getting BPA taken out of Canadian baby bottles and that sort of thing. And we're to just get the message out, celebrate 50 years of Silent Spring, recognize Organic Week. Yeah, you can keep going. Here's our group meeting in Ottawa last week for our annual parliamentary conference, part of Organic Week, and we go and we visit MPs and senators, tell them the good news about organic, tell them they need to do more to help grow that sector. You can go further. Here's a son of Saskatchewan getting a big old bottle of beer Jerry Ritz was there to announce some funding for organics and take part, and he stayed for probably 45 minutes or so in the Parliament buildings and had some organic food and some organic beverages with us, and that was great. This is just some of the media we're doing with consumers. We're really trying, I'm almost done there. We're really trying to engage with them. We had over 165,000 impressions on Facebook for Organic Week this year. We're really starting to have a direct relationship with the consumer in Canada, and we're going into the Globe and Mail, we're going into magazines and newspapers across the country where we can afford to, and trying to just send that message about a positive note on organic. Next slide, please. These are some of the sponsors that have come in over the last couple of years to help Organic Week be a success, so really want to thank them and recognize them. Tremendous support, and it's growing to see that message get to the consumer. So that's really exciting, and I think we have a lot to bring to them. Next slide, please. And this, to finish, is the proposed branding campaign. That's the Got Milk of Organic. It's not finalized yet, but it's something that we're working on with partners across the country, and it's a pretty aggressive campaign to put that stop sign shaped plate out there and say, think before you eat. So I leave you with that. And as I promised, I answered all of your questions, so I'm sure there aren't any. But if you do have it, I know we have another speaker who's my rush says I have another minute, but I'll be at my booth this afternoon all day. I'm happy to meet with you and speak with you, and thank you so much for your time.